Hello, come on in, sit down. My name is Onyx Turner. Very few people have known of my existence, so I doubt you have heard of me before today. I was a freelance mercenary, spy, or whatever else one might need, for I possess a particular skill no one else has ever had. I am a shapeshifter. After many years of retirement, I have decided to make a record of my exploits, and that is what this is. Welcome to the Turner Chronicles. Chronicle 5. Location unknown. Time unknown. Objective escape. When I awoke, I found myself laying on a cot in a small, featureless cell. Quite a dreary place. Not wanting to stay here any longer than I had to, I immediately looked around for some escape. Unfortunately, there appeared to be no quick way out of the cell, so I had to come up with something creative. I saw a video camera in one of the corners of the cell. I knew that they were watching me and were aware that I had woken up. Good. Maybe they would send someone in. Whoever they was. I assumed CIA, but assumptions can be wrong. Until I got confirmation, I was not going to jump to any conclusions, at least not at this point. Hopefully, I was still in Hawaii. But if not, I would hope I'm at least somewhere inside the U.S. If these were spies from a different country, this would definitely be a difficult escape. However, if we were still within the U.S., I don't believe I would have many issues getting out. The CIA is effective, but sometimes they can be a bit arrogant. After looking around my cell and realizing that there was absolutely nothing I could do at the current moment, I decided to wait. I sat down on the bed and froze. I sat there, unmoving, for what I estimate to be 2.5 hours, before I finally got someone at the door. There were 2 loud knocks, and then a guard spoke up and said that he had food for me. A little slot in the door opened, and a platter was slid through. I gladly accepted the food, as I was hungry. I don't know how long I was out. After a quick investigation, it appeared that the food was not up to the culinary standard that I had been eating at for the past few years. I was not surprised, but I was a bit disappointed. Whichever spy agency had captured me definitely was sparing a lot of expenses with me. That was not going to last long. I picked at the food a little bit. It was some weird slop. No way to confirm or deny the existence of drugs. And I did not want to get drugged up and then go into an interrogation session where I would evidently spill more than I wanted. So I decided to play it safe and neglected to eat. About half an hour later, a guard came back and knocked on the door again. He ordered me up against the back wall, facing the wall. I neglected to follow his orders completely and got up against the back wall with my back to the wall. Hopefully, he would just enter and maybe get a bit frustrated with me. The minute he got angry, I'd get in his head. I could screw around in there, poke a couple things, and maybe, just maybe, get him off his game. Or, on the other hand, he could accept it as it is and move forwards with trying to get me out of my cell. That would be best case scenario. I heard him unlock the door and swing it open. There were 2 guards, more than I expected. The second one had a taser and was pointing it at me as the first one stepped into the room. He motioned for me to turn around, and I shook my head no. I saw him get visibly frustrated, and he started to walk towards me. That was 2 mistakes made by him, back to back, that worked out beautifully for me. Shoving off the wall with my shoulders, I lurched towards him and punched him hard in the gut. He doubled over, and I turned my fist into a strong uppercut, which knocked him out. His partner fired the taser at me, which I skillfully dodged. The metal prongs bounced off the metal cell wall as his partner slammed into the ground. Spinning towards the bed, I grabbed the tray of food and with a flip of the wrist, flung it at him. He put his hands up to block his face, and that was his last mistake of the night, as I followed the tray with a strong front kick. He got knocked backwards into the door frame and out of the cell. He hit the ground hard, and I could hear the wind get knocked out of him. I picked up his taser as he sat there trying to stop me from leaving, and started walking away. I appeared to be in some sort of prison complex, maybe an abandoned prison, as I was the only prisoner on this floor. I barely got 10 feet out of my cell, and just noticed this fact when 4 guards rounded the corner in front of me. I believe they were just out of taser length, so I flung that at them and shouted, "Grenade!" They bought it and dove for cover, which enabled me to sprint the last 15 to 20 yards. By the time the first guard came back out from around the corner, I was already upon him, and with a quick yank on his handgun, pulled it free. Not really wanting to kill anyone, at least not today, I shot him in the knee before quickly switching and shooting the agent on the other side of the hallway in his shin. Both of them dropped with howls of pain, and I fired 2 more shots, one into the shoulders of the other 2 remaining guards. Not waiting around for them to get past the shock of being shot, I sprinted off down one of the hallways. At the end, I found a staircase, and I immediately took that upwards. Due to the lack of a window in my cell, and the fact that my current location looks like an abandoned prison, I assumed that I was below ground. My gamble proved to be correct, as 2 levels up, I glanced in a cell and saw a window out to a prison yard. Somehow it appears as though the alarms had not been tripped in this facility, which to me was a weird fact. I thought I was a higher priority than that, but maybe not, unless the camera was just a hoax. The only other possibility I could think of was an unsavory situation where this whole thing was someone else's game, and that I was being tested. It was a possibility, but I did not want to entertain that thought any longer than I had to. Rounding another corner, I came face to face with another squad of 4 agents. Thankfully, they were just as surprised as I was, and a quick strike to the temple of the first one dropped him. I swung at the second with the butt of the handgun, but he dropped low and dodged it. Fortunately for me, he dropped right down into my knee's height, so I was able to still knock him out easily. The other two were out of arm's reach, so unfortunately I had to install a bullet into each of their legs to drop them. But they still had their lives, so I hoped they didn't hate me too much. After all, this whole encounter was simply business. Sprinting down the remainder of that hallway, I found myself at a fork in the road. A hallway went left, and a hallway went right. Both were empty, with empty prison cells lining both walls. I had to give props to whoever the orchestrator of all of this was, as he definitely found an unnerving location. I flipped a mental coin and took off down the right-hand passageway. Halfway down, I noticed another staircase in the wall. I decided to examine it. It went up for what I estimated to be 4 levels. And not seeing any better way to go about this, decided to go up. I made it up all 4 levels with no resistance. And much to my surprise, found myself at a roof access door. It was locked, but I'm pretty sure that was intentional, as by this point, I was pretty much convinced that this whole operation here was just to see my full capabilities. Not wanting to give anyone any extra information, I shot the lock. Thankfully, it gave way and I was able to open the door. Stepping through, I found quite the interesting sight. One look around, and I realized that I was no longer in Hawaii, not by a long shot. My best guess puts me in the West Virginia mountains. Turning my attention back to the task at hand, escaping, I saw 2 clear options in front of me. One was a helicopter on a helipad. Upon further investigation, it was unlocked. This was definitely an interesting turn of events. I was not sure if I wanted to reveal my flying abilities just yet, so I looked around and saw a rope dangling off the side of the building. I quickly moved over to the rope and glanced down. That was not a direction that I wanted to go, as there was a considerably large amount of agents down at the bottom of the rope. Now, if I managed to get past the 8 to 9 agents I saw down there, there was basically my choice of law enforcement vehicle sitting in the adjacent parking lot. This was definitely not a situation I wanted to find myself in. Either reveal that I was a pilot, or try to fight my way to a car without killing any of these agents. The contemplation didn't last very long, and I settled in the helicopter. Someone is going to learn that I'm a pilot. Oh well. They were bound to learn sometime. I guess now is fitting enough. I jumped in the pilot's seat and immediately fired it up. They had left this waiting here for me. It was a test, and now they knew the answer and the outcome. Powering the rotor on, I lifted it off the helipad and went roaring towards the nearest mountain.